Narendra Modi delivers keynote address virtually at the high-level segment of United Nations Economic and Social Council, assures India's deep commitment to maintaining global harmony and preserving nature's balance, reiterates India will play its role in full support of UN's agenda as a member of UNSC. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh holds security review meeting in Srinagar with Chief of Defence Staff, Army Chief, Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor and Jammu and Kashmir DGP. Raksha Mantri to visit Amarnath Cave Shrine today. Three terrorists killed in an early morning encounter with security forces in South Kashmir's Shopian district. Search operation underway. Joint Admission Board of IITs decides to relax eligibility criteria for JEE Advanced 2020. All qualified candidates who have passed Class 12th examinations will now be eligible for admissions in IITs this year, irrespective of marks obtained. Flood and landslide situation remains grim in Assam, claiming over 100 lives. Heavy rains continue to lash Mumbai and coastal Maharashtra. Several low-lying areas waterlogged due to incessant rainfall. And COVID recovery rate rises to over 63% with over 6.35 lakh recoveries. Active cases stand at 3.4 lakh with over 25,000 fatalities. Good morning. You're watching DD News and I'm Preeti presenting the bulletin this Saturday morning. In the next half an hour, we'll get an account of everything that's making it to the headlines. Our top story first. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called for UN reforms, stressing that the time is ripe to assess United Nations' role and relevance in today's world and to shape a better future for it. He was delivering a virtual keynote address at this year's high-level segment of the UN Economic and Social Council session of the United Nations. The Prime Minister assured that with its deep commitment to maintaining global harmony and to preserve nature's balance, India will play its role in full support of the UN's agenda as a member of UNSC.
India firmly believes that the path to achieve sustainable peace and prosperity is through multilateralism. As children of planet Earth, we must join hands to address our common challenges and achieve our common goals. However, multilateralism needs to represent the reality of the contemporary world. Only reform multilateralism with a reformed United Nations as its center can meet the aspirations of humanity.
Set against the changing international environment and the COVID-19 pandemic, Prime Minister said that as the furies of the World War II eventually lead to the emergence of United Nations, the battle against COVID-19 provides an opportunity for reforms and rebirth of the whole world body.
While celebrating 75th years of the United Nations, let us pledge to reform the global multilateral system, to enhance its relevance, to improve its effectiveness, and to make it the basis of a new type of human-centric globalization. The United Nations was originally born for the furies of the Second World War. Today, the fury of pandemic provides the context for its rebirth and reform. Let us not lose this chance.
And talking about India's association with the United Nations, Prime Minister reminded that from the very beginning, India has supported UN development works and ECOSOC. Prime Minister also laid emphasis on the fight against COVID-19. He added that though it has tested resilience of all the nations, in India it has been made into a people's movement, with the government pledging $300 billion to revive the economy.
The COVID-19 pandemic has severely tested the resilience of all nations. In India, we have tried to make the fight against the pandemic a people's movement by combining the efforts of government and civil society. We have given the highest priority to reach benefits to poor households. We have announced a package of more than $300 billion. It will bring the economy back on track, build modern infrastructure, and put in place a technology-driven system. We have put forward a vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-reliant and resilient India, integrated with the global economy.
Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh on Friday chaired a high-level security review meeting in Srinagar. Raksha Mantri, who was on a two-day visit to Jammu and Kashmir and Leh, was briefed in detail about the situation on the line of control in the hinterland and successful counter-terrorist operations. He also said that the country was proud of the valor and patriotic spirit of the soldiers. He urged all to continue to work hard to ensure security both on the line of control and in the hinterland. Rajnath Singh also impressed upon the commanders to maintain strict vigil along the line of control and remain prepared to give a befitting reply to any misadventure by the adversary. The Raksha Mantri also complimented everyone for great synergy and close coordination amongst the security forces and government agencies towards bringing back normalcy in the region and lauded their work in ensuring peace and security in Jammu and Kashmir. Raksha Mantri will visit Amarnath Cave Shrine today. HRD Ministry has announced that the Indian Institutes of Technology will do away with the admission criteria of minimum 75% marks in class 12th this year. Candidates clearing JEE Advanced will be eligible for admission to IITs irrespective of class 12th marks. Union HRD Minister Dr. Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank in a tweet said, and I quote him, "Due to partial cancellation of class 12th examinations by several boards, Joint Admission Board has decided to relax the eligibility criteria for JEE Advanced 2020 qualified candidates this time. The qualified candidates who have passed class 12th examinations will now be eligible for admissions irrespective of the marks obtained." Enthusiastic response has led the central government to extend the last date of submission of the entries for Atmanirbhar App Innovation Challenge to the 26th of July. The challenge was launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 4th of this month, and the previous last date for submission of the entries was 18th of July, that is today, Saturday. The challenge is hosted on the Innovate portal of MyGov, and to participate, one can log in to innovate.mygov.in. The Electronics and IT Ministry has said that so far, 2,353 entries have been received across the 8 identified categories, including 1,496 from individuals and 857 from organizations and companies. Amongst those received from individuals, around 788 applications are ready to use and the remaining 708 are under development. For the apps submitted by the organizations, 636 apps have already been deployed and the remaining 221 are under development. Around 100 of these apps have more than 1 lakh downloads. The applicants are from all over the country, including remote and small towns, indicating a wide pool of untapped talent in app development. Durga Shankar Mishra, Secretary, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, launched the mobile application of PM Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi or PM Swanidhi in New Delhi on Friday. This app aims to provide user-friendly digital interface for lending institutions and their field functionaries for sourcing and processing loan applications of street vendors under the scheme. The launch event was held through a video conference in which, besides senior officials from the ministry, principal secretaries dealing with Urban Development Department and other officials from the states and union territories participated. It is believed that the launch of the mobile app will give impetus to the implementation strategy of the scheme, besides promoting paperless digital accessing of microcredit facilities by the street vendors.
Earlier we had only this portal. We only had the web portal for administering the complete PM Swanidhi. Now we have this mobile application, and that is going to make things much more simpler. Just with a mobile phone, a smartphone, anybody can be admitted for the PM Swanidhi scheme.
Petroleum Minister Dharmendra Pradhan co-chaired the second India-US Strategic Energy Partnership ministerial meeting along with US Secretary of Energy Dan Brouillette on Friday. Both the sides agreed to build strategic petroleum reserve. India and the US signed an MOU for collaboration on strategic oil reserves, including India using American storages for storing its oil as the two nations look to deepen energy ties. Addressing the virtual meeting, Petroleum Minister Dharmendra Pradhan invited enhanced participation from American companies in the oil and gas sector.
It is indeed reassuring that despite the COVID-19 induced challenges, the industry leaders are quite optimistic about reinvigorating the energy linkages between the two countries. I am confident they will take advantage of the fast emerging opportunities in the energy sector between our two countries.
And up next, let's take a look at the COVID-19 update from across the country. A total of 6.35 lakh people have recovered from COVID-19. According to the data of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, a total of 6,35,756 people infected with the virus have recovered across the country so far. Now, with this, the recovery rate has reached 63.33%. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is 3,42,437. In addition, in the wake of rising COVID-19 cases, the state government has imposed complete lockdown in 4 districts from 9 p.m. on Friday to midnight of 31st July. The lockdown will be in force in Ganjam, Jajpur, Cuttack and Khordha districts and Rourkela Municipal Corporation in Sundargarh district. However, essential services will be permitted, while some offices of central and state governments would be allowed to function during the lockdown. Uttarakhand government has also imposed statewide lockdown on Saturday and Sunday amidst large and rising number of COVID-19 cases. Uttarakhand Chief Minister, however, said that the decision applied only to this week and fresh assessment of the conditions and the necessary containment measures will be made on a weekly basis. After imposing a week-long lockdown in Bangalore and other districts in Karnataka, the government has begun the task of giving a major goal to the medical facilities, besides clearing all hurdles in the system which block the speedy recovery of COVID-19 patients. Medical Education Minister and COVID-19 in charge Dr. K. Sudhakar sprung into action and took surprise visit at the COVID-19 designate government hospitals in Bangalore city. He inspected the hospital facilities and reviewed the entire treatment procedure at KC General Hospital, that's a government hospital. He checked the quality of PPE kits being used and also took to task the hospital administration for their negligence, which led to 35 staff members of the hospital testing positive. Dr. Sudhakar also interacted with COVID-19 patients at the hospital via video conference and gathered their feedback. In Gujarat, a 4-member central team reviewed the situation on COVID-19. The team also held a meeting with Chief Minister Vijay Rupani over the issue. Dr. Randeep Guleria, Director of AIIMS Delhi, told that pandemic situation has improved in the state since last 2 months. He also lauded the Ahmedabad Metropolitan Municipality for its efforts to contain the spread of the virus.
मैंने यहाँ पे सारे डॉक्टरों के साथ बातचीत की, उनके इश्यूज समझे, कैसे कैसे हम ट्रीटमेंट दिल्ली में कर रहे हैं और कैसे कैसे और जगह पे हो रहा है, उनके साथ डिस्कस किया कि हम यहाँ पे और क्या अच्छा कर सकते हैं, चाहे डॉक्टर्स प्राइवेट सेक्टर में हो चाहे गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर में हो, पेशेंट मैनेजमेंट, चाहे वो दवाइयों के बारे में हो, आइसोलेशन के बारे में हो या प्लाज्मा के बारे में हो, उन सब के लिए क्या कर सकते हैं, उसके लिए सबसे डिस्कशन किया। आपस में हमने अपने अपने उनके प्रॉब्लम समझे, क्या उनका सोल्यूशन हो सकता है, और मेरा ये मानना है कि इससे आगे जाके बहुत फायदा होगा। सूरत में केसेस जो है वो कंट्रोल में आएंगे और आस्ता आस्ता फिर कम होने लगेंगे।
With Bihar seeing a spike in the number of COVID-19 cases, the Union Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has sent a multidisciplinary team to the state to assess the situation. The three-member team will coordinate with state health authorities to review the existing situation and provide necessary support and guidance. Bihar is under complete lockdown till July 31st due to rising cases of COVID-19. And the flood situation in Bihar remains grim, with rivers in the state overflowing. Floodwater has spread over various other parts of the state as well. Over 288,000 people living in 8 districts are badly affected due to floods. According to a report submitted by the State Disaster Management, out of 8 districts, Darbhanga is the most affected, where 1,58,000 population of 30 Gram Panchayats located in 4 subdivisions are affected by the floods. 9,845 people have been evacuated from various flood-affected areas. More than 2,000 people are living in relief camps. The Met Department has predicted light to moderate rainfall in some parts of the state during the next 24 hours. And we have our correspondent Salman Haider joining us to get us more on these items. Salman, when we talk of the visit of the team, of the central team to the state, let us know more, and also very quickly get us an update on the current situation of COVID-19 cases in the state. All right, I think we have not been able to establish proper contact with Salman Haider there. There is a problem in the audio there. We'll try getting back to him to get more on that. Meanwhile, let's get you an update on the current situation in Assam. Before we go across to Assam, we are again joined in by our correspondent Salman Haider. Salman, we tell our viewers that Bihar is under complete lockdown till 31st of July. Also, a team from the centre is visiting the state to assess the situation. Let us know more details of that, and also very quickly an update on the COVID-19 cases in the state.
Yeah, Preeti. Central team would arrive Patna around 12 p.m. The team would review the COVID situation in Patna as well as other districts of the state. As you know, Patna has become hot spot because 39 deaths and over 3,000 cases. The Patna and some other districts have become hot spot. At present, active cases are over 8,000 in the state. So the team will review the mode of treatment, method of treatment, and whether the protocol is being followed or not. Meanwhile, the state government has said that it is extending its testing process. Number of testing would be increased from 10,000 to 20,000. So this is the COVID situation here. As far as flood is concerned, as you know, the flood is spread in 150 panchayats of the state, and rivers at many places are above the danger mark, still above the danger mark, despite some slackening in the rain during past 48 hours. And the weathermen have predicted medium to moderate rainfall for today. Yeah, Preeti.
All right, the weathermen have predicted moderate, medium to moderate rainfall. Also, Salman, we see that the state has been has been facing flood situation for quite some days now. Also, when we see heavy rains are followed by spread of diseases, spread of epidemics. Let us know more as to how is the state prepared on that front, and also get us an update on the relief camps in the state, the condition of the relief camps.
Relief camps have been erected. As you know, quarantine center were there as before, but they were closed as a home quarantine has been allowed. So those centers have become relief centers, and now 28 centers in the flood affected areas are operational right now, and community kitchens are also operational. So they are being provided cooked meal for the flood victims. The low-lying population have been shifted to these relief centers, and but most of the population, the nearby population, have been shifted to embankments also, and they are living with their livestock, and further problem is there also. And Darbhanga has become most affected, where 4 subdivisions are flood affected right now. Road communication has been disrupted in all the flood affected districts, and many villages have become islands, with boat is the only medium of communication. Yeah, Preeti.
All right, thank you so much, Salman, for joining us with those updates. And from here, we get you an update on the current situation in Assam. Flood situation in Assam remains grim, as over 3,000 villages in 28 districts are still submerged. Over 100 people have lost their lives due to floods and landslides so far, while around 36 lakh people have been affected across the state. Dhubri, Goalpara, Barpeta and Morigaon are the worst hit, with above 4 lakh people affected in each district. More than 51,000 inmates are taking shelter at 304 relief camps across the state. About 1,28,000 hectares of cropland still remains inundated. In a major success for the army in Jammu and Kashmir, 3 unidentified terrorists have been killed in an ongoing encounter. The encounter broke out between security forces and terrorists in Amshipura area of Shopian. Now, according to the officials, a joint team of Kashmir Police, 62 Rashtra Rifles and CRPF launched a cordon and search operation in the wee hours after forces received specific inputs about the presence of a few terrorists in the area. The search operation turned into an encounter after the hiding terrorists opened fire at the forces from the cow shed of the lone house in an orchard. The forces retaliated to the gunfire, thus ensuing a gun battle between the two sides. The operation is still underway, and it is the second encounter between security forces and terrorists in the last 24 hours in Kashmir. That's it in this edition of the News Sasa. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.